So early morning newspaper class. So I'm sure you haven't read newspapers. Yes? At least headlines?
Yes, sir.
Headlines you have done. Good, good for you. How many of you are carrying syllabus copies? You have syllabus copies. Have you taken printout of syllabus copy? Yes. So again, it's recommended for you to carry syllabus copy, not only for my classes, for all classes, either for optional or GS papers. See, the more you know, the better. Yes. If you see this particular article, what are the keywords that you should remember? And where will you use it? COVID-19 vaccine export to resume. So first and most important thing is COVID-19 vaccine export to resume. Yes.
So it will be useful in
Which keywords? Not which articles. The article is by default important. I'm asking which keywords are important and which papers will you use them and what is the use case scenario. See, if I give you this water bottle, all of you know that when you are thirsty, you will drink. Yes, in the same way, articles are temporal. That means depending on the time and situations, their importance will keep changing. But there are certain terms, some concepts, some ideas which are evergreen, and their relevance does not limit with that one particular article, and it becomes a template. See, I will give you a very simple example. Even when you bring this water bottle or your water bottle into your class, you keep it on the edge, or do you keep your mobile on the edge? Even if you keep like that, subconsciously you will do what? Push it inside. Or whenever your mom or you are on the edge, your mom or dad will say, come inside. Why that? Why do we do that?
because it is templated in mind that it should not be kept at edge.
The most simple concept is gravity. Yes, gravity is a mental model, but we don't think of gravity all the time. Gravity is subconscious. I never put anything valuable on the edge. Automatically, I will put it on the middle of the table. Do I have to remind, okay, this is gravity, Newton's apple falling down? Okay, you don't go to school, right? Subconsciously, it has been drilled into your brain. Yes or no? These are called as mental models. We don't realize that we are using something called as mental model, but we do use mental models every day. In the same way, whenever I see the term Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that's a template, that's a mental model. So India's greatness is soft power. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the greatest contribution to the philosophy of the world. It's a universal mental model. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. What does it mean?
Entire world is your family.
Entire world is my family. So you must have heard about Ubuntu.
Yes, sir. OS.
Okay, it's an African philosophy. Okay, Ubuntu is an African philosophy which was later taken into an OS and made popular. But the concept is Ubuntu. The entire village is one, or everybody is connected. So you take Indian philosophy or African philosophy, the people who come from these traditional settings have this bonding of togetherness. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. How much are we applying that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? As an Indian society, how much are we applying that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam?
This is one example.
Yes. Is it making you a better society? Yes or no? Whenever we see floods or anything happening, everybody is one. We contribute, we share, we stand for each other. During COVID times also, we have seen everybody, for the migrant labor, we have seen people sending cooked meals. Yes or no? So the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept is more or less alive and we believe in that. Yes. But there is a limitation to my capacity. There is a limitation to my capacity. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam should be something of a good motive. It should not be a marketing tool. Yes or no? That is also there. You do NGO activity and all you do is fill your Facebook with photos. Then that is not Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the purest form of empathy. Family. Yes or no? The other person is also my family. That is when your empathy will come out into the picture. So here we are using it for vaccine Maitri. What is Maitri?
Friendship.
Friendship. Vaccine means vaccine. Vaccine, Maitri. So we during the first wave, after the first wave of COVID, we got a lot of vaccine production. We said to all our neighbors, Bhutan, Bangladesh, everybody, don't worry, you are developing countries. You don't have pharmaceutical capacity. We will export the vaccinations. But unfortunately, second wave hit India very hard. We had to use all the vaccination. Now that things are little bit better, we are willing to export again. But the problem is, Bhutan, we gave the first vaccination dose. For second vaccination, we couldn't give Bhutan. So Bhutan has to get from some other places. So sometimes even the best of the intentions will not sit well because of lot of issues. Clear? So that is one template we see about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Vaccine Maitri. We can see the SAARC nations. So in diplomacy, in IR especially, this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept plays a huge role. Humanitarian assistance, disaster management, yes, IR. Next is this. Next is this Gavi concept. What is Gavi? Okay, this COVAX. COVAX is coded by Gavi. Okay, so as I have told you, USA, Canada, Germany, these rich countries or developed countries can afford to buy vaccination. So when even COVID vaccination was in the development process, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and other companies, they pumped billions and billions of dollars into those pharmaceutical companies, and they told we have the first right. That means whenever you produce a vaccine, our countries will get the first lot. Okay, Bangladesh cannot do that. Yes or no? African countries cannot do that. But what is the core concept of vaccine? None of us are safe till all of us are safe. Yes or no? Say in some remote African nation, the virus mutated. Virus XYZ has evolved, which is immune to the present vaccinations. Then what happened? All your vaccine drives in USA, Canada, India are waste. I hope you understand the concept, right? So that is why none of us are safe till all of us are safe. Okay, so these developed countries can afford money, and some smart countries like India can create their own vaccines, but the poor and developing countries cannot afford vaccinations. And due to the interconnected nature of the world, virus does not have geographical boundary. I did not get American visa, I won't go to USA. Virus cannot say that, right? Virus will travel very, very quickly. So Gavi is a global coalition where instead of countries giving money to individual companies, all the countries will pool the money. The pharmaceutical vaccination, it will be distributed more or less equally to all the nations in the world, especially the least developed and developing nations. So the shortage of technical advantage and money both are covered in this coalition. So in future, if there is ever a pandemic, which there will be, right? Instead of America giving money to Pfizer, this coalition will give money to Pfizer and other companies. So that vaccination will be distributed. For understanding sake, let's think about Canada. Canada has 8 times more vaccines than it needed in the initial days of procurement. Because it has pumped so much amount of money, it purchased 8 doses per citizen, which it need not have. But whereas African nations are still suffering even with single dose vaccination. So that equity distribution will happen through these kind of coalitions. Okay. Now, what is the advantage or what is there for India among all these things? India has proved the world that we have more than ample capacity to create vaccination. More and more foreign direct investment will come into Indian pharmaceutical companies. Yes, this will also give more incentive for government of India to support our own manufacturing hub. Yes, for the first time we are creating a DNA vaccine, mRNA vaccine. India has all kinds of vaccines, capacity to create this. So India can be an alternative to the developed nations. So we can use that as also as our rallying point for UNSC permanent membership. And our ethos are not driven by profit, but our ethos are driven by Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So that makes all the difference in the world. Yes or no? So we need not patent it for very high prices. We will give it at a cheaper prices, even to the developing countries, and that goodwill will always make sure that India is good in the eyes of every other country. So Vaccine Maitri is a very good initiative, but it should be backed with the policy and financial support. Okay. These political dramas we don't need to read. Supreme Court not to interfere in reopening of the schools. Why?
Because it doesn't have that expertise or data.
Supreme Court doesn't have expertise.
Expertise in deciding whether to open schools or not.
Governments have.
They're supposed to have.
They are supposed to have. Okay. So it's an executive decision, and whatever headache will come on them, states will have to manage on their own. So what happens when you close schools for a long amount of time?
We have seen like 5th class student unable to read second
That
class.
was before COVID also. The data was not during COVID times. The data was pre-COVID times.
Sir, it has
Yes, please.
impact on nutrition also.
It has impact on nutrition due to midday meal school. Midday meals have been stopped. Okay. Socialization skills or motor skills will come down. Okay. Then. So
Human capital is impacted.
Human capital, socio-economic cost of education is very high. That means employability and adaptability of those kids will come down very drastically. See, USA is let's say USA, China are leading in artificial intelligence. At least we should be able to do some back office work. But if the generational gap or the education gaps is like this due to digital divide and other things, okay, these kids will more or less become totally redundant. Whatever they are learning in 2020 will not be useful in 2030. Think about it. If you learn how to do a balance sheet tallying, okay, artificial intelligence will do it better than you. What will you do? So we had this discussion, right? That means education should be in such a way where the children are future proof. If you are still worrying about, input device, output device, that kind of education is not needed. But what is needed is the basic arithmetic skills, the basic motor skills. He should be sharp. That cognitive development and socialization can happen only at the earlier stages. Once he is done, he is free to choose whatever he wants to choose. But if that motor skills, basic motor skills are not developed, what will happen? They will become asocial, right? And they will become dumb in a way. We have seen that in school, in homes, what are they doing? Either they are watching these rhymes. Yes or no? Or
Playing games.
playing games, but they're not learning. Very few parents are having the time and opportunity to make them sit and develop a new skill, painting, music, and all those things. How many families can afford that? And most of the families are first generational. That means the school kid is the first learner in the family. So the parent does not know how to teach. So that is also a big problem. Yeah. Child marriages, dropout of girls, these things have increased. Okay. These two are related to, are they in Hyderabad edition?
Delhi edition.
Delhi edition only, don't worry. So the simple concept one is a smog tower. Smog tower. By the smoke plus fog is smog. Is it dangerous?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It traps the greenhouse gases.
Smog. Okay. So what are the conditions required for creation of fog? Long night, clear sky, sunlight. No sunlight. So if you open 11th class geography NCERT, they are there. Okay. So don't worry. Basic, very, very basic stuff. Smoke plus fog is smog. It's not good for health. Next is, this have been implemented in China already, smog towers. Okay. So we have to capture as much as particulate matter as possible. The problem is average lifespan will come down. If you are living in Delhi, you are living 6 years less than what you are supposed to be. Okay, so you are making 5 lakhs per month, but you are living 6 years less. Which one is preferable? Get rich or die trying. No. So one of the interventions or one of the ways to reduce air pollution is smoke towers. So it has a huge drama. First, IIT Bombay was supposed to develop smoke tower, then it withdrew, then Supreme Court came back and shouted, then they have installed the smoke tower. Now we have to see how regularly they will clean the filters. Yes, outside AIMS, what they have done, they have taken cotton balls and they created a shape of a lung and they have put it in the open air. Within few days, it turned total black. So that is the amount of particulate matter we are breathing due to air pollution. So one of the solutions to reduce particulate matter is smoke towers. Apart from that, Bharat Stage 6 fuel, BS6 in your vehicles will also reduce pollutions. And total move towards electric vehicles is even better. Okay. In the same way, stubble burning is also a problem. As I told you, from Haryana all the way till Uttar Pradesh, the entire Hindi belt or the entire northeast belt will be covered with pollution. Stubble burning. One of the solution is biodecomposer. So last time we have discussed, right? What will happen biodecomposer? It will create into manure. It will help the farmers. Because air pollution is a very important topic for your GS paper 3, environment and biodiversity, and also for your essay topic also. Do we need to discuss about bad bank? Okay. What is bad bank? Maruti will tell us. I forgot what is bad bank. Who? Okay. Who taken the loan? Who is not paying? Srinivas will explain to us.
To clear the NPS, government had invested some money on that bad times to clear the NPS.
Like, what is bad bank? It's not a bank. Very clear.
This system
It's a system. Very good.
non-performing assets.
To clear non-performing assets. Okay.
Government has invested some
Repeat. A to B, B to A. Okay. Yes.
Bank is a institution which takes away the non-performing assets of banks and helps them perform in a better way by taking away that
By taking away money, already banks are in losses, right? If they take away money, how?
non-performing assets.
Yes. Regarding Jason. I don't know. Yes. So, okay. Yes. Who wants to confirm this finally? Yes. Sorry. Quickly.
So bad banks are the institutions
Yeah.
that came into force by the help of government. They
Yeah.
accumulate the NPS of the bank so that their balance sheet will be cleared and which will be smoothen the process of banking. They'll take the loans like if the NPAs of 100 crore, they'll pay 80 crore to the bank and the 20 crore will be as a loss. Instead of zero amount, the 80 crore is more preferable. So it will clear the balance sheet of the bank.
Okay, fine. Yes.
They resolve the debt of the banks and they plan for the asset reconstruction so that as she said, the balance sheet, the double balance sheet problem is solved.
Hmm. So what should we learn from this particular experience? Invest in keywords. All of you are struggling unnecessarily a
Sir,
lot to tell.
IBC should be implemented very well.
IBC has nothing to do with that bank, right?
No,
Okay.
sir. If IBC is implemented very well, there is no need of
Bad bank.
bad bank.
Probably there is a need for both of them to exist because of different regions. In case of Vijay Mallya, I cannot implement IBC, whereas for Vijay Mallya probably I will go for bad bank. So there is a need for all kind of institutions. So what I would like you to remember is this: articulation is everything. It doesn't matter how much you know. Okay, unless you are able to convey to the other person, you are not going to get scores. Her mistake was to use few words here and there. His mistake was to say the concept in a least possible fashion. It's very simple. Scheduled commercial banks are burdened with non-performing asset. Scheduled commercial banks are selling their balance sheet or the non-performing asset to bad bank. Bad bank is purchasing that NPA, which will help resolve the non-performing asset crisis. Okay, and the things like non-performing asset, cleaning up of balance sheet, yes, inflow of money, and further revival of economy. Bad banks, cleaning up of balance sheet, inflow of money, revival of economy. That is the story. If you remember 4 keywords, in between those 4 keywords, if you throw anything, it's okay. Yes, shall we see? If you read editorials, you occasionally find keywords. Yes or no? You occasionally find keywords. So that is how you develop your articulation skills. You don't have to struggle. Always remember the concept in the simplest way possible. Bad bank is an empty bottle. Scheduled commercial banks are full of NPS. Some amount of NPS is poured into bad banks. Okay. Her answer had some flaws. Why? She told out of 100 crores, 80 crores are coming back. In reality, what is happening? Only 15% is coming back. Yes or no? If SBI is giving up 100 crores of NPS to asset reconstruction company, okay, asset reconstruction company is only giving 15% in cash, the rest in bonds. Bonds are papers. Yes, it actually does not have any use unless the ARC honors the agreement one day. Okay, this 15 crores is useful to the bank. Why? This is liquid cash. This can be used for new loans. The entire concept of bad bank is what? To clean the balance sheet of SBA.
Increase the liquidity.
Yes, but we are taking only 15%. In theory, what is supposed to happen? This ARC will recover the 100 crore. That 100 crore will fulfill the bond promise. One day amount will be recovered. That day, bad bank will be in a position to respect your bond. As long as that is not happening, your bond is just a paper. It's like a promise. Okay, he owes me money, she owes me money for certain amount of money. When I really need that money, if I go and the bad bank is not in a position to give that money, then government of India will intervene. Clear? So if you are not able to articulate anything, take a pen and paper, spend some time. Yes or no? Things will become very, very clear. Especially in basic economy, application part should be understood only through practice. Okay, and don't take amount beyond 100 rupees. 100 or 50 rupees or 2,000 rupees maximum. So it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, if I give 1,000 rupees, what is happening? Clear? And how will this help overall economy?
increase the liquidity or loan.
Not only that, when I am yes, banks can give fresh loans. Apart from that, when I give when I take away certain NPS from the bank's balance sheet, there is something called as prompt corrective action framework, PCA framework. I will explain. Let's say SBI have 100 rupees to give, 100 rupees of money to give as a loan. Okay, if NPS increase around 10%, that means if NPS cross 10%, then RBI will come and put SBI under a framework called as prompt corrective action framework. That means SBI cannot open new branches, SBI cannot give new loans. Everything SBI does will be overlooked by RBI. Extra focus will be there. To avoid all such drama, SBI won't give new loans. Okay. Also, SBI, all these scheduled commercial banks have shareholders. Yes or no? Shareholders, what do shareholders want? Shareholders want healthy banks. If SBI is having 10% of NPS, I mean, out of the 100 rupees that SBI has given, 10% is NPA. That means SBI is not performing fully well. Yes, sure, shareholders will not be interested to invest in SBI. If bad bank comes and purchase 5% of the NPS, even in reality, if there is no money received by SBI, still in the eyes of the shareholder, how much NPS are there for SBI? 5%. So health of the bank improved or not? So economy is all about perception management. Clear? So that is how we are cleaning the balance sheet. Now what will SBI do? SBI will do one more adventure. I have only 5%. So till I reach 10%, I have the luxury to give new loans. So it will have a breathing space. Okay.
Given the situation with so much of NPS, we are reading continuously. Why not RBI little liberalize the PCA to 15% or 12%? Or
It's only postponing the inevitable. We are just dragging on, right? We have to wait till 20%. After 20%, there is no coming back. That money is not going to come back ever into the market. It's like, throwing fresh water onto hot pan. What will happen? It will evaporate. So the solution is long-term structural reforms. Yes, land reforms and all those things. Economic activity has to increase. As long as economic activity do not happen, what will happen? Companies won't make profits. And two things are here. Be very clear. Indian economy is not having a liquidity problem. Indian economy is not having a liquidity problem. Our liquidity is stuck is one thing. Around 6 lakh to 10 lakh crores is in NPS. No doubt about that. At the same time, banks are having full amount of money. If you take any Indian bank right now, they have good amount of money to give loans. But the problem is there is no demand. The problem is we don't have demand. Are you able to follow so far?
Yes, sir.
One hand, we have given money that is stuck in NPS because of lack of demand. On the other hand, we have money, but we don't want to give loans because of no demand. If there are no NPS, what government would have done is pump more money into infrastructure to create demand. Keynesian economy, right? All of you know John Maynard Keynes. In 1928, US went into depression. You know this much. How did US recover?
The government pumped a lot of
The government pumped a lot of money. Right now in India, government wants to pump money, but it has already pumped, which is stuck in NPA or fiscal deficit is very high. So it is looking towards the private sector to pump money, but private sector won't pump money. Why? No demand. Banks cannot give new loans. Why? NPS. So government is not directly giving money. It wants to give money through banks, but banks are not willing to give because of NPS. If I give money through banks, demand will be created. Then private sector will also start pumping money. More money will come into the market. Unfortunately, NPS are like a handbrake. It is slowing the entire nation, right? And again, it's too much. Don't worry about all these things. In the starting 1-2 months, you don't need to worry about all the NPA problem. Mains answer rating will come later. NRC education will be more than enough. There is an editorial which says NRC issue. So yesterday I have discussed about NRC briefly. I told you that state governments are not happy, especially Assam is not happy. It wants to restart the NRC process. Why? According to their political inclinations, the report is not satisfactory. And there are many problems in the execution of NRC. Yes. So what should be done? According to Hindu, we have already done all the exercise and we need to bury the NRC revival. Whatever NRC is there, verify within that, but don't need to restart the entire process because it will push lot of people into a lot of problems. So the plan is to do NRC for the rest of the country. Yes, the plan is to do NRC for the rest of the country. So there is no objection in doing NRC for the rest of the country, but the process should be streamlined. Good amount of timeline should be there, awareness generation should be there, and fear mongering should not be happening. Because the moment you say NRC, there will be a lot of WhatsApp forwards. Yes or no? This particular community is being targeted, that particular community is being targeted, then they will come do dharnas. A lot of drama will happen. Unnecessary, the human capital, social capital of the nation is getting stuck. Yes or no? Every time someone do a dharna, we are focusing on the unnecessary issues than focusing on the necessary issues. See, there is a beautiful quote. Our energy should be spent on constructing the new rather than fighting the old. If we keep firefighting every day, our energies, attention, farmers bill, CAA, NRC, Rahul Gandhi, Punjab. If we focus only on these things, when will we focus on quantum computing? Yes or no? First of all, how many of you know what is quantum computing? And why is it important? You understand the picture, right? The broader picture is China is 10 years ahead of USA in quantum computing. That is where future lies. So if we are not focusing on the essential things, we will always be fighting on whether we should rename the the Mughal names into some other names or such important issues. But the country will stay behind. Are we clear? Yes. I'm not saying that they are not important issues, but they should not be given priority. Priority should be elsewhere. Okay. Right. Have you read or seen these articles? Any idea what these articles might be about? Have you heard about Fyodor Dostoevsky? Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, never? So he's a famous Russian author, novelist. He wrote very famous books like Crime and Punishment, Idiot, Brothers Karamazov. So he's very famous and he has very beautiful quotes. One of my favorite quotes of Dostoevsky is this. It takes more than intelligence to act intelligently. It takes more than intelligence to act intelligently, right? That means just having intelligence does not guarantee that you will be intelligent in acting. Yes. So what is needed here is the ease of doing business has to be understood in the context. Ease of doing business. What is ease of doing business? Again, if you have seen the Shivaji movie, Rajinikanth Shivaji movie, you will understand it very, very easily. If I want to bring some foreign money or my own money and start a business in India, it should be as easy as possible. Ease of doing business. Normally what happens, I have to visit 25 or 30 departments for 30 different kind of permissions. Yes or no? Electricity department, water plumbing department, then electric motors for connections. You know, all these are like trivial details, but if you don't give the grease money or the basic corruption, things don't work out. Yes, then I have to get the permission from RDO, VRO, whatever land records. So 10,000 litigations will be there between me getting the money into the country and starting a business. And there have to be a lot of pro forma accounts. I have to open an Indian bank account, Indian demat account. So you get the picture, right? Unless you know someone inside or you are willing to pay bribe, things will get very, very difficult for you. So to avoid all these things, one thing has been created that is known as single window clearance. Single window clearance. That means I go and submit the required documents in one window, in one government office. They will send it to all the required departments and they will get it done and they will inform me your application has been processed. So instead of visiting 50, 60 departments, I will go to one window, single window clearance systems. So that is a reform for ease of doing business. Like this, World Bank has developed an index called as ease of doing business index. The parameters are like this. How well are the contracts executed? Yes or no? I'm a foreign company. I came to India. I tied up with a local cab company to transport my employees. I have paid him advance of 6 months. After 3 months, he stopped delivering the goods. If I go to the court, it should be instantaneous. But if I am dragged for 6 months, I have already paid money. I have to find some alternative solution. 6 months legal cost. All these things will discourage me to work in India. Right? So like this, World Bank has set certain parameters, 12 or 14 parameters to do business in India. When you do business in India, right, it should be as easy as possible. So it was around in 140s. Government has done something called as low hanging fruits. That means if I modify 1 or 2 small things, like electricity connection will be given in 1 day. Okay, my rank has improved by 20 points. Like this, government has reduced the rank from 140 to 65 or 70 or 60s. What is the trick? Every country has started doing this. See, first year you will be surprised. Okay, my rank is 140. Then you will sit and think, what can I do to improve my rank? So you have tweaked some things. Automatically your rank has started coming down. But this is only theory. Theory. And the second thing is the survey is conducted in only few cities like Delhi and Mumbai. The World Bank ease of doing business is done in Mumbai and Delhi, but the name is India's ease of doing business. What is happening in Telangana may not be true for Mumbai. Telangana might be better or worse, right? So if you observe everything that government is doing now, bad bank, ARC, that telephone AGR, adjusted gross revenue, all those things can be put under the heading of ease of doing business. Yes or no? That means ease of doing business is the most important thing for any country. And when ease of doing business is nice, what will happen is foreign direct investments can be attracted. Okay. Now we'll see this article, what is trying to tell. So recently, finally, World Bank has decided to abolish ease of doing business. Why? Everybody is manipulating the records. What is, but how about India? If you see the chart, if you see this chart, ease of doing business rank is coming down from 134 to 63. But what is happening to the manufacturing growth? It has come down. Pre-COVID times also, it has come down. See, only in 2020 February we had COVID. Till then everything was final. Yes, manufacturing is coming down. So there are other problems apart from indexes. You have to be more than intelligent to be, you need to have more than intelligence to be intelligent. In the same way, ranks alone does not make a country ease of doing business. Okay, the next one is Net foreign direct investment. What is foreign direct investment? When someone from outside the country brings more than 10% of capital in a particular firm. More than 10%. Okay, if I'm buying shares in a company, 2-3%, that is foreign portfolio investment. If I'm putting capital more than 10%, it is foreign direct investment. What is the foreign direct investment in telecom sectors? What is the FDI in telecom sector? Just 4 days ago, government has done something called as adjusted gross revenue 4-year moratorium. On the same day, they has increased the FDI to 100%. It was in the Hindu front page infographic, just like something like this. No, not noticed. It happens, don't worry. So if you can see, the foreign direct investment attraction is hardly increasing. Okay, and above all, the gross fixed capital formation. Capital formation. Capital formation means households will make money. You, I, every normal middle class family will take money and deposit in banks or in some saving instruments, shares, gold, bonds, or something like that. That is coming down. When fixed capital formation is coming down, the money to invest in long-term assets will also come down. See, I cannot take your salary account and give to Ambani for 15 years. Yes or no? If L&T company wants to create metro, I cannot take 3 of your salary accounts and say, okay, these 3 people will get 50,000 per month. Okay, you take their money. What will happen? After your salary comes, okay, immediately SMSs will start coming. 1500 has been deducted for Netflix. Yes or no? Slowly, your salary account is going out. So how can, if you are taking on the one hand, how can you give that money to long term? So salaries are short term. Yes or no? Salaries are short term asset creation, short term savings. Salary accounts are short term savings. Metro construction, airport construction is long term. So I cannot finance long term construction with short term savings. So I need to have long term savings for long term connections. For example, you have invested in mutual funds or fixed deposit. 10% interest rate will be given for 10 years, but you cannot take out that money for 10 years. So if you invest 5 lakhs in fixed deposit for 10 years, then I can take 4 lakhs out of it and give it for airport construction. But I cannot do the same for your salaries. So the more the long term savings, the better for infrastructural loans. 50,000 deposited, within 24 hours you have used 25,000. What will I give loan? Yes or no? So salary accounts cannot be used for long-term capital creation. So savings are coming down, FDI is not increasing, manufacturing growth is coming down, but rank is improving. So what is the real story? The real story is everybody is playing with the ease of doing business rankings. But did things improve in the ground level? To an extent, yes. We cannot outrightly deny only rankings are total false. If definitely, probably what the bribe and the corruption and all those things for electricity connection, single window clearances, they have improved. Okay, but not to the extent that investors would like to. Okay, next. And one more thing is, in the name of banks, okay, this is what has happened. Okay, again, this is with empirical data. Before this article also we knew this. The news is labor reforms or lack of labor capacity is not the reason for India's underperformance. Okay, but that index gave an opportunity for the state governments and central government to go for labor reforms. In the name of quick labor reforms, the safety of the labor has been hampered. That is what he is trying to argue. Okay, so earlier you had 90 employees. You had 90 employees. If you hire 10 more employees, you will come under Ministry of Labor Code. So when you have 100 employees working in your factory, automatically you have to give them certain benefits. If he's a permanent employee, you have to give him pension. Yes, if accident happen, you have to take care of him. Then every 3 months, inspector will come. Safety is there, fire extinguishing is there, ventilation is there. So all these infrastructural requirements have to be met. So that means the moment you hire 100 employees, okay, lot of regulations will come and fall on your head. So what will you do? You will stop the employment at 40 or 50. Permanent employees only 40, sir. The rest 60 people working are contract laborers. So as long as I have 60 contract laborers and 40 permanent laborers, I don't come under government purview. But at the same time, when I hire more and more contract people, my performance will increase or decrease?
Performance will increase.
Decrease. Why? See, a permanent employee will have training, skill and development. A contractual labor is whom? Like 1 week you are working in this factory, next week you will go for some other factory. It's no guarantee that you will work in the same factory for 365 days. And there is no long-term incentive for you to improve your skills, because even if you are improving the skills, the factory owner won't hire you as permanent employee. So that is called as informalization in formalization. Okay, informalization in formal sector. The factory is a formal place, but you are informal within the factory. So because of the lack of skilled people, the factory productivity is coming down. That's a loss-loss scenario.
So, but I have seen that
Oh.
normally, of course, unskilled labor will impact negatively. But with increase in the workforce, definitely the speed of work improves.
Again, you are not able to understand the concept. So, but for contract labor, we can extract more work and easily fire if skills are not reached. You are thinking, contractual labor is in mega factories. You need to have specialized skills. Okay, you need to have proper training to operate a mission. Yes, you need, and you are not even allowed near the mission because you are informal labor. So you are employed elsewhere. So you are not going for specialization. So specialization can only happen with experience. So you must have seen the Apple case in Karnataka, right? What happened? All the Apple employees went to that particular factory. They broken the windows of the Apple. What was it? Karnataka people, no? Others? Even in Gurgaon, the Maruti factory, a manager was killed. Right? So it's empirically proved that informal labor is not. They might be good, not everyone. Right? And it's a rotational basis. So this hire and fire mechanism was easy for the companies. Okay, to avoid this, what did states like Rajasthan do? They have increased the number to 300. Up to 300.
You don't come on government.
So automatically, according to the informalization is increasing, right? And next, the problem is self-regulation, self-certification. Sir, this establishment is perfectly under your rules for 3 years. Okay, see, again, I'm not blaming the companies or factories also. Some government rules are from colonial era. Like, for example, you need to have 10 by 10 window. Okay, when we have modern exhaust mechanisms and all those things, why do we need to have 10 by 10 window? You need to make sure that there is safety and security mechanism. The concept is to provide safety and security for the laborer. Okay, and garment factories also need to have certain establishments. But if you see, whenever there is a fire in the news, it is from garment factories. Electricity wire has burned down, BD has burned down the stories, and these laborers will be suffocating in the stairs. Yes or no? For example, all buildings should have fire code. Have you seen a fire extinguisher? Where? Do we have fire extinguisher in the DFI building? How many of you noticed that? DFI building fire extinguisher. The place where you have this water, right, outside the door in the 3rd floor building. Just when you turn, the door is there on the 3rd floor building. There is a table, water table. Just above that water table, there is a red fire extinguisher. You never noticed, right? and we don't know whether it's working or not. Okay, that's true, right? And how many of you know how to use that? You got the point. Okay, so I mean the factories are also supposed to have all these rules and regulations. So if the inspector come, what will happen? I will give certain amount of money, and he says everything is as per code, perfect, flawless. Okay, when fire accident happens, he will blame the owner absconding. Okay, you get the idea. So if we release or lacks the safety mechanisms, it's the labor who is going to be severely affected. So for a long-term safety or for long-term growth of India, we need to invest in the labor's safety. When labor feels comfortable and secured, automatically quality of output will improve, not the other way around. Right? Don't blame everything on the labor. Industrial accidents and unrest has increased. So labor regulation should be for the labor, not for the companies. In the long run, everybody will be happy. Temporarily, we are looking at the profits, but long run, we are looking at the human capital formation. See, and this country has anything in abundance, that is population. Yes or no? There is one thing that is abundance in this country, that is population. So that is why we normally don't value human life. Yes or no? A person will be driving on a bike, his helmet will be like this, just here. Yes or no? That is for formality. Yes, and it is still considered as helmet. If you are really worried about the safety and security of your citizen, okay, you have to make sure that compulsorily it is ISI. Yes or no? And it should be protecting his or her life. As long as we maintain it only for formality, everything is as per rule. If the clip is not there, if the buckle is not there, when an accident happens, what will happen? First thing that will fly up is your helmet. Then what is the point? Yes or no? One of my friend who is working in some bank right now, he used to prepare his UPSC with me. So he was in Lucknow back then. So he had this full helmet, like not the clip one, the full helmet. So he was riding his motorbike, Rajdoot or something, right? Royal Enfield. So he had fallen on the road while he was in a highway. Okay, a truck, double tire truck, went over his head. Okay, just imagine the full load truck went over his head, back tire. Okay, and he didn't had a scratch. I sometimes wonder what if he was wearing a clipped helmet. Yes or no? He would probably not be alive. Purely miracle, there is no doubt about it. But helmets do actually save a lot of lives. But we don't give enough importance to the basic rules and regulations. The same is with this. Yes. So if you value the human life, the cost will increase. 1500, the helmet will become 1500. But how can you measure 1500 with him being alive? He's now having a daughter, happily married, and all those things. None of those things would have happened. Yes or no? How can I measure that one moment of 1500 versus entire life? Okay, in the same way for industries, the initial cost will definitely increase. Losses, profits will come down. But the long-term safety and security of your employees will create a bond trust. Yes. So system has to work for the last man in the line. Clear? Again, see, for a normal person, losing an arm or a limb probably might survive. But for an industrial labor, if he is the breadwinner of the family, he lost his arms or something. He's alive, but he will be a burden to the family and society rather than anything else. Yes or no? So we have to be more considerate in thinking all these things. Clear? And we have to still manage ease of doing business. Narcotic jihad. Did you read that article, by the way? I told you 18. Yes. What did you understand by this article? Bhuvishri will tell us what is narcotic jihad. Closer to the state. Neighbors.
So I can understand what is not exactly, but I understood that there was some church which do in hate speech.
Hmm.
And few nuns walked away telling
Hmm.
Christ doesn't support communism.
Hmm. It's all that can be extracted from this particular article. That's it? No? This is all you can recall. Yes. How many of you haven't read this article? Haven't? Hmm. Okay. Very nice. The rest of you understood? Yes, Narayan?
It's giving narcotics to Christians and trying to
Hmm.
break theirs, and mainly there was communal issues,
Hmm.
and Christianity, population of the Christianity is coming down
Hmm.
in Kerala.
Hmm.
So they are like encouraging to have more kids and funding them also.
Hmm.
Priest and all, they having talks in church about those things,
Hmm.
and we were having connection with the Kerala Congress,
Hmm.
and but the representation of the Kerala Congress members also have come down, and the Communist Party is trying to lower the situation between the communal issues, and the party supporting Muslims in North Malabar areas where the Muslim majorities are more, and supporting the Christian members where they are more important or central Kerala region.
Okay. So the neighbors have failed to understand you, your state problem, and you have understood it in more depth than needed. Yes. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand two codes. One is people who live in glass houses should not throw stones at others. Yes or no? People who live in glass houses should not throw stones at others. The moment I think about conversions, which is the first thing that comes into my mind?
Christians.
Okay. Yes, obviously throughout the country there is a syndrome. People are even given names like rice bag converts. Okay, so that means if I give certain amount of money, you will convert into the religion. So you does not actually hold any belief in that particular religion. And as famously Gandhi said, you Christians are anything but Christ. I mean, followers of Christ. So every religious have its own problems. That means they don't follow that religion in true sense of the term. So, and one more thing is, unfortunately, resources are at the core of almost all issues. Fault lines. We have discussed what are fault lines. So Hindu, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Christian, Muslim. So all these are fault lines. So whenever there exist fault lines and a political ambition, automatically they can be created into a wedge. So if today Hindutva groups and Christian groups are against Muslim groups, that does not guarantee that tomorrow we won't be attacking the Christian groups for conversions, right? So conversion is a very real issue, and if you see Hindutva groups, they have tried to do something called as Ghar Wapasi program. Yes, you come back to Hinduism, Shuddhi programs, Shuddhi Karana. Yes, so when we do all these things, automatically you become Hindu again. But I have a very clear-cut understanding that resource is at the heart of every issue. So in this article also, what he is trying to say is there is a concept called as love jihad. All of you know, it's a program where Hindu girls are allegedly trapped by Muslim youth and are converted and use it for extremism or extremist activities, or go and fight for ISIS. Okay. In the same way, narcotics jihad is a group of Muslims who are having a clear ideology to make the Christian youth addict to drugs. So the problem here is, if one or two people are doing illegal activities, let's say Dawood Ibrahim is sending drugs to India. Yes, and whenever I see a, let's say, a terrorist attack or something, most of the times they belong to a particular religion. So for me, it's very easy to stereotype the entire community, and it's a hard, mark to wash off that particular community. Yes or no? So that means whenever I see drugs, a particular community is involved in spreading the drugs. Whenever I see terrorism, a particular community is involved in the terrorism. So automatically what I can do is use that fact as a foundational pillar, and then I can construct as long as I need it to be. Okay, what will happen because of these things? communal harmony will be severely disrupted and fundamental rights will be violated. But the larger problem is there something called as a drug problem in India?
Yes.
That should be the core target. Yes or no? See, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, irrespective of any religion, if they are bringing poison into the society, the poison has to be stopped. Yes, and there should not be any political attachment. And sometimes what happens is political parties or corruption will actually allow these things to thrive. Let's say drug money is funding the political ambitions of a political leader. He might give some political protection. Yes or no? Bootlegging, that means illegal creation of alcohol and all these things happen. Or trafficking happens. The trafficking money is filling the pockets of a MLA or a minister. He will inform the police to ignore that particular crime. So most of the time, police officers at the local level will know who is doing what. But the only thing is political protection. As long as political protection is there in the name of religion, caste, and all these idiotic activities will continue. Okay. So yes, there is a drug problem in India. India is between Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle is Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. Yes or no? So that's a drug trade. Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan are called as Golden Crescent. So we are between these two largest drug producing countries. So drugs will flow into the country. And Punjab has been a severe victim to drug addiction. And Punjab youth has been destroyed more or less because of drug addiction. It took a lot of time for us to realize and work on that. What is needed is stopping the drugs and rehabilitation. So if you are worried about drug problem in Kerala or anywhere else, we should increase the maritime patrol, airport security should be increased, and internally national investigation agencies and all these agencies should make sure that the drug problem is nipped at the bud. Okay, so instead of giving it a communal target, a communal name, okay, we should work on the root problem. And if someone is actually involved, without mercy, without hesitation, he should be punished according to the law. Okay, but this should not be going into the wrong directions. We don't want to fight the wrong fire. We want to fight in the right place. Let's say a riot happened. A few people are killed. Our focus will be spent on that rather than the drug smugglers, drug peddlers. Yes or no? So we should be very careful in focusing on the right areas. And without mercy, again, it has nothing to do with religion. Anyone has to be fought off. Next, rehabilitation should be also be focused upon. Let's say someone is addicted to drugs. Okay, so you might go to a church or a temple or mosque, whatever your rehabilitation place is, still a professional help is also needed. Yes or no? See, drug addicts are losing their consciousness. If he's addicted to heroin and all those things, immediately if you take him to temple, he doesn't automatically recover miraculously, right? Professional help is equally important. Family love, community support is equally important. If you look at the drug addicts, like, you know, they are vermin. You are pushing them away from the society. The drug addicts will also go into theft, murder, rape, and other law and order problems will also be created. So rehabilitation should also be equally focused. Counselings, yes, group sessions, group therapy should be also created. That means we need to work on all the 360 degrees of the drug problem. Clear? And you know, party culture. If not for you know, people started first recreation. So drug problem is very prevalent in India and it has to be severely rooted out. And there is definitely some kind of political clout or political connections or illegal activities linked to all these things. So we should come above the partisan politics and go for the greater good of the society. Yes or no? See, if a daily laborer is drinking alcohol, people might understand that. Yes or no? If an educated person is coming to the home after drinking a lot and beating his wife, people look down on him very badly. Why? You are educated. Kerala is the most literate state. So drugs, alcoholism, dowry deaths, all these things will bring more bad name to the society rather than anything else. So it's up to the society of the Kerala to wake up and realize what is happening among themselves. The existential crisis will come only with the privilege, right? If you are working 10 hours, 12 hours a day, you won't have time to think about all these things. Yes or no?
Kerala is more literate state than integrated state.
Mhm. See again, I think the wisdom of South India is always much brighter. And wisdom is not either South India, North India, or any India, but throughout India, wisdom is there. But I think people are more inclined to send their sons and daughters to school. Yes, population wise, having one child, and you know there is a sociological concept that says a a Kerala Muslim is closer to a Kerala Christian rather than a Uttar Pradesh Muslim. A Kerala Muslim, a Kerala Christian, and a Kerala Hindu thinks in the same way that I should have one or two kids. I should send them to the best of the school possible. He or she should join IIT or go for something. For example, if you see Andhra Pradesh, what is the craze of the parents? IIT or MBBS or CA. CA is the new fashion. Whether you are Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, you have a similar target. What is that? Have one or two kids. You don't plan for too many kids. Yes or no? You should send them to CA or IIT or doctor. You don't target them for any other things, right? But if you see a Bihar Muslim or a Uttar Pradesh Muslim, he may not understand what is the concept of engineering, or he may not be so accepting in this ideology to push them to engineering. He might have a different ideology, business. Why don't you go to business? Because as a society, we have seen the advantages of sending everyone to IIT. Yes or no? So the societal concept has changed. In the same way, I think the wisdom of Kerala is not related to literacy. It is about from the culture. Yes. What is hate speech?
Of communication speech.
It's a kind of communication in speech.
Targeting a entire community
Hmm.
and attributing a particular evil
Hmm.
and branding them with that.
Branding them with that is hate speech.
Which is giving a call for taking action on that bias for whatever evil is there.
Hmm.
Calling for an action.
Okay, so what is difference between hate speech and sedition?
Sedition is something against the state, something against the government. This is against this hate speech can be hate speech is not necessarily towards state. It can be towards any community. It can be any. It can be towards any social community. It may be a caste, maybe religion.
Community within sub-communities. So hate speech can be against a group of people, and it need not be empirical, right? Most of the times it's about post-truth, fake news, and all those things. So the problem with hate speech is it's very subjective. See, sedition against the state. That means I can criticize government of India as much as I want with proper language, with formal language, and as long as it does not lead to any law and order issue. That means I have provoked people to do something. Okay, but none of you have stood up and did something wrong. Then it's not sedition. So that is a high benchmark Supreme Court has set. Sedition is a very high benchmark to breach. Okay, so you can criticize government, but that does not automatically translate into sedition. But hate speech is kind of in between. It's a subjective term. Yes or no? Because the ramifications of the hate speech is long term. The collective memory will be there. If I create hatred against a particular community in your brain, you might act 2 years down the line. Yes or no? Okay, and so as you can see here, Lord Bhikkhu Parekh has given a kind of definition to what is hate speech. Hello. Yes. No, what are the, see, we will learn the meanings of certain things. Refuses to accept them as a legitimate and equal members of the society. What does that mean?
Reducing it to subclass, substandard citizens.
Hmm.
Second.
Second class citizens within their own society. And legitimate, you are always a foreigner. Okay. Next, it creates barriers of mistrust and hostility between individuals and groups and plants fears, obstruct normal relations, and exercise a corrosive influence on the conduct of collective life. Yes or no? So what does that tell you? Every day, these kind of subvert act. For example, within a particular religion, let's say within Hinduism, okay, we have these caste barriers. Yes or no? A certain stereotypes have been prevailed against certain castes. They are like this. Then you do the same for religions. So then the social bonding of the society won't happen in the way it should happen. So the creative freedoms of societies are being hampered, and we are fighting more than what we should have been fighting. Yes or no? Either, see, the problem with the society is either too much appeasement, like you allow negative things to grow too much in the name of politics, or either you are too strict. There is no in between in India. Either we are too lenient or we are too strict. There is no middle path. Okay, and added to this is the fears. What are fears? The population is growing, resources are coming down.
Climate change.
No, nobody is bothered about climate change, right?
Sir, but actually there is this thing that because of climate change,
Hmm.
the lower southern Bangladesh region
Hmm.
might, all those small patches of them, they'll be submerged, and a lot of Bangladeshi influx. will
Climate
happen.
refugees will come to India. Why? See, internal displacement, the entire Goa will be gone. So when sea level rises, the entire coastal plain will be under severely affected. So around 20% of Indians more or less will be affected. So they will be moving to inland. So that is why buy land in Hyderabad, right? Okay. So jokes apart, what I'm trying to tell you is climate refugee is about to happen. It will happen, no doubt about it. Okay. So how are we going to treat all these things? And second thing, let's think about Afghanistan. Pakistan will be more or less. Christine Fair calls Pakistan as colony of China. One day they will start fighting without any economic. What happens to all those Pakistani citizens, right? So we are going to see a lot of changes from 2025 onwards because of climate and weather. Flash floods will increase. Uttarakhand may not be hospitable in certain areas because of flash floods, landslides, landslips. The same might be the case with Himachal Pradesh. Yes, polar ice caps will melt. If once the polar ice caps melt, the entire perennial rivers of North India will be severely affected. Then where will you get the water from? You get the picture, right? So whatever we are discussing is just tip of the polar cap, right? Yes. Clear? So again, these are all very sensitive issues, but they are important for your GS paper. One also, what are the threats to secularism in India, or what are the policies which are being done in the country in the name of secularism? So that was a question in 2018.
Sir, again, what is the threat to what customs in the name of
secularism? Yes. So you cannot answer all those questions without thinking about all these prospects, right? Yes. Okay. So this we have discussed, marital rape. Okay. How many of you remember what is Joseph Shane case? Joseph Shine.
Related to adultery.
Riddle.
They have legalized the adultery.
They have legalized the adultery. Okay. So there are better ways to put it. Okay. So they have given the freedom of back to the individual. Okay. They have given the consent back to the individual. Okay, that's the most important thing. And in the same way, this is about marital rape. The problem with marital rape is
It cannot be proved.
No legal evidences can be proved.
Might not be even.
the equality, the gender justice has to be achieved. Okay, marriage is a equal agreement between two people. Okay, both men and women have equal right in the marriage. It's not a one-way street as it is as of now. So when morality of the society is changing, or the global level it is changing, the constitutional morality has also has a responsibility to uplift it or upheld it. There will be problems, no doubt about it, because we don't even understand the concept of marital rape. So it's very hard for the society to convince. But if you read ethics papers, I told you, one of the determinants of morals of the society is law. If the law says this is correct, the next generations will start believing this is correct. Just because you are a product of a different generation, it's hard for you to understand, does not make it a wrong thing. The next generations will understand it. Clear? Okay. So any questions in whatever we have discussed so far?
In this particular article, the last this one, partnership of equals.
Mhm.
That thing in that under that subheading, the first para I did not understand.
Mhm. What is, like, I didn't get what you couldn't understand there.
I mean, he's saying that there is no empirical data that about no if this is I mean the exception 2 of the article 37 is then he said that people will fear that many false cases will be filed. Then he's saying that the false cases will not be filed because there is no empirical data for that. How is that? I mean, we cannot predict that person. How can he? How is that justified?
Hmm.
So did I make sense?
No, totally. So, first of all, he's saying filing of false cases against might lead to filing of false cases against husband. So after Dowry Act has been introduced, there are false cases. Yes or no? So there are genuine cases, there are false cases in the Dowry Act where woman has misused the woman and her family has misused the Dowry Act. In the same way, definitely there is a provision or there is a chance that marital rape false cases might increase. Yes or no? You are married, you are not happy, your boyfriend or girlfriend is waiting for you. Like, so you might have taken the advantage of this legal provision to say he has raped me and you want to go for a settlement. Either you give me divorce or I will file a
So,
police
but
case.
however, they have not criminalized this marital rape, but they are accepting this as a ground for
Divorce.
divorce. So,
Huh.
so that is always there for parting.
Again, see,
criminalizing
I
is
need
not
to have a
required for
leverage. I need to have a leverage, right? I need to see. I will tell you here that in the Kerala court judgment, spouses are treated. Where was it? Okay. See, there need to be have some mental harassment. You need to be able to prove. Right now, marital rape have happened. Okay, but there are no wounds or there is no proof for the mental torture. Okay, then I cannot bargain with you for divorce. You get the point, right? Like something is happening between husband and wife. It's only within the four walls. Outside the four walls, there is no wound. There is no one to say that you torture her or mentally harass her. It's only her word against your word. So that may or may not be a ground for divorce. It's very difficult to prove that particular thing. But if marital rape is a threat if there is a legal backing, if it is criminalized, probably that will be used as a tool for diverse
No,
cases.
sir, they're already saying that if you are alleging that marital rape is happening, then it can be ground for divorce. The court is
It's
accepting.
very difficult to prove unless there is some evidence. That is what I'm saying. The woman does not have a any leverage as of today. Yes, if there is some abuse, if there is some beating, some bruises or something like that, okay, again that might be a additional evidence, okay, but if it is purely psychological warfare cannot be proved, right? You act like the most Mr. Perfect in front of everybody, but only in certain cases you show the torture, then it becomes a problem.